They all thought I came to my ex-husband's wedding to cry and beg. Even Derek smirked when he saw me enter, but nobody knew the billionaire sitting in the front row was my uncle, and nobody knew the plan we had prepared for months. His smile? It died in seconds. Before we start this revenge story, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear will blow your mind. This isn't just about a wedding, it's about a calculated takedown. Drop a comment if you believe in karma, and let's begin. My name is Naomi, and 5 years ago, I thought I had found my fairy tale. I was 23 when I married Derek, a charming businessman with a smile that could light up a room. I was working as a restaurant manager, making decent money, and I thought we had built something real together. But here's the thing about fairy tales: nobody tells you about the monsters hiding behind the prince's mask. I'm an orphan. I lost my parents when I was 12, and I grew up in foster care. I had one uncle, my mother's brother Harrison, but he disappeared when I was young, chasing his dreams overseas. I had no one, no family to walk me down the aisle, no mother to help me pick my wedding dress. Derek's family knew this, and from day one, they made sure I never forgot it. Derek's mother, Patricia, was the worst. Every family dinner was a battlefield. She'd look at me over her wine glass and say things like, "It's such a shame Derek couldn't marry someone with a proper background." Or she'd turn to her friends and say, "You know, she has no family. Can you imagine? No one." Her husband, George, wasn't much better. He'd just nod along, like I was some charity case they'd taken in out of pity. But I loved Derek. Or at least I thought I did. I convinced myself that love would be enough. That if I worked hard, if I was a good wife, if I made him happy, eventually his family would accept me. I was so stupid. The cracks started showing in our 4th year of marriage. Derek became distant. He'd come home late, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. He'd guard his phone like it contained nuclear codes. I tried to talk to him, but he'd brush me off, saying I was paranoid, that I was being dramatic. But a woman knows. Deep down, we always know. The day I found out, I wasn't even looking for evidence. I had picked up his phone to check the time because mine was charging. A message popped up. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. She suspects nothing." The name on the screen made my blood run cold. Jessica, my friend. Or at least someone I thought was my friend. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I opened the messages and saw months of conversations, intimate photos, plans, promises, and the worst part? They were laughing about me, making jokes about how clueless I was, how pathetic. When Derek came home that night, I was sitting in the living room with his phone on the coffee table. He saw my face and knew immediately, but instead of apologizing, instead of begging for forgiveness, he sighed, like I was an inconvenience, like I had caught him doing something mildly annoying instead of destroying our marriage. "I was going to tell you," he said casually, loosening his tie. "Jessica is pregnant. You couldn't even give me a child, Naomi. What did you expect?" Those words hit me like a physical blow. We hadn't been able to conceive, and it had broken my heart. I'd spent years feeling inadequate, blaming myself, and now he was using that pain as a weapon against me. But it got worse, so much worse. The next day, Patricia showed up at our house with George and Derek's lawyer. She didn't even try to hide her satisfaction. "We think it's best if you leave quietly, dear," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Derek deserves to be happy, and Jessica comes from a good family. She has class, she has connections, she's what this family needs." That's when I realized the affair wasn't just Derek's doing. Patricia had orchestrated it. She had introduced Derek to Jessica deliberately. She had been planning my removal from the family like I was a piece of unwanted furniture. The divorce was brutal. Derek's family had money and power, and they used it to destroy me. Their lawyers stripped me of everything. The house we'd bought together? Gone. The savings account? Emptied. They even took my car. I was left with a tiny apartment that barely had heat and a broken heart that felt like it would never heal. For weeks, I could barely function. I'd wake up crying. I'd go to bed crying. I stopped eating. I stopped caring. I was 28 years old, and I felt like my life was over. I had no family, no support, nothing. I considered giving up entirely. Then, one night, I found an old photograph of my mother. She was smiling, holding me when I was a baby. On the back, in her handwriting, it said, "My strong girl. You can survive anything." And I remembered Uncle Harrison, my mother's brother, the man who had disappeared to build his dreams. I had been too proud to reach out to him before, too ashamed to tell him I needed help. But now I had nothing left to lose. I found his number through an old contact and called. When he answered, his voice was older, deeper, but still familiar. "Naomi, is that really you?" He sounded shocked, emotional. We talked for 3 hours that night. I told him everything, and he listened. Really listened. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then he said something that changed everything. "I've been looking for you for years, Naomi. After your mother died, I wanted to take care of you, but I was broke. I left to build something so I could give you a better life, but you disappeared into the system, and I couldn't find you. I'm successful now, very successful, and if you let me, I want to help you. Not just financially, but I want to help you show these people who they really messed with." That's when I learned my uncle wasn't just successful. He was a billionaire. Harrison Stone, the Harrison Stone. He had built a massive investment empire from nothing, and his name was respected in business circles worldwide, and he wanted to help me. We met in person a week later. He flew me out to his penthouse and we spent days planning, not just my comeback but their complete destruction. Harrison was methodical, brilliant. "We're not going to just beat them, Naomi. We're going to make them wish they'd never heard your name." 3 months after the divorce, a cream-colored envelope arrived at my tiny apartment. A wedding invitation. Derek and Jessica were getting married at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the most expensive venue in the city. Jessica had personally delivered it, her pregnant belly showing under her designer dress. She'd smiled at me, that fake sympathetic smile, and said, "I know this must be hard for you, but Derek insisted you should see what a real wedding looks like. No hard feelings, right?" I wanted to rip that invitation into pieces. I wanted to scream. But I remembered Harrison's words. "Let them think they've won. The fall is so much sweeter when they think they're on top." 2 days later, Patricia called me. I almost didn't answer, but Harrison told me to. "Naomi, darling," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "I heard you received the invitation. I do hope you'll come. It would mean so much to Derek to have you there. After all, we're all adults here. And besides, it'll be good for you to see what happens when a man marries the right kind of woman." Every word was designed to hurt me, to humiliate me. But I played along. "I'll be there, Patricia," I said quietly. "Congratulations to Derek and Jessica." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, you're such a good sport. See you there, dear." What none of them knew was that Harrison had been working behind the scenes. He'd been buying shares in Derek's company through shell corporations. He'd researched Derek's business and found out it was failing. Derek was desperate for investment, hemorrhaging money, about to lose everything. And Harrison, using a fake business identity, had reached out to Derek, promising him a massive investment that would save his company. The catch? The deal would be finalized after Derek's wedding. Derek thought he was about to become incredibly successful. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. Harrison helped me prepare for that wedding like we were preparing for war. He took me shopping, bought me the most stunning red dress I'd ever seen. It was elegant, powerful, everything I wasn't supposed to be in their eyes. He hired a stylist, a makeup artist. When I looked in the mirror the morning of the wedding, I barely recognized myself. I looked strong, confident, untouchable. "Remember," Harrison said as we drove to the venue, "act humble, act defeated. Let Derek feel powerful. Let Patricia think she's won, because in a few hours, we're going to take everything from them." Walking into that wedding venue was one of the hardest things I've ever done. The Grand Plaza Hotel was decorated like a palace. White flowers everywhere, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet playing softly, and everyone was staring at me, whispering, pointing. I could feel their pity, their judgment, their curiosity. Why would the ex-wife come to this wedding? I kept my head high and found a seat near the back. Within minutes, Jessica's bridesmaids surrounded me in the bathroom. They were cruel, making comments about my dress, about my presence. "Can't let go, huh?" one of them said. "It's honestly pathetic." I said nothing, just washed my hands and left. Patricia found me before the ceremony started. She looked me up and down and smiled coldly. "Came to see what you lost? How brave of you." She leaned in close. "That dress won't change anything, dear. You'll always be the orphan girl who wasn't good enough." Then Derek saw me. He walked over, his groomsmen following like a pack of hyenas. He put on this fake, sympathetic expression and said, "Naomi, I'm glad you could come. I know this must be hard for you, but it shows real maturity. Maybe one day you'll find someone too. Someone at your level." I smiled sweetly. "Congratulations, Derek. I wish you both all the happiness you deserve." He didn't catch the double meaning. He just smirked and walked away. Then Harrison arrived. He walked in wearing an expensive suit, commanding attention without saying a word. People recognized him immediately. Whispers spread through the crowd. "That's Harrison Stone, the billionaire investor." Derek's face lit up. He rushed over, shaking Harrison's hand enthusiastically. "Mr. Stone, I'm so honored you could make it." Harrison smiled, cold and professional. "Wouldn't miss it, Derek. I'm very interested in seeing what kind of man I'm about to do business with." Derek introduced Harrison to everyone, showing him off like a trophy. Patricia was practically glowing, bragging to her friends that a billionaire was at her son's wedding. George was already discussing business mergers. And then Derek brought Harrison over to me. "Mr. Stone, this is Naomi, my ex-wife." Harrison looked at me like I was a stranger, shook my hand formally. "Nice to meet you," he said coolly, and walked away. The performance was perfect. No one suspected a thing. The ceremony began, and I sat through it with a smile frozen on my face. Jessica looked beautiful in her white gown, her pregnant belly visible under the flowing fabric. Derek's vows were all about finding the right woman and finally having the family I deserve. Jessica's vows included a line about replacing the past with a beautiful future. Every word was a knife, but I didn't flinch. When they kissed, everyone applauded. Patricia was crying tears of joy, George was beaming, and I was counting down the minutes until everything fell apart. The reception started, and Derek was on top of the world. He gave a toast about his success, his beautiful wife, his baby on the way. He talked about upgrades and knowing your worth, and everyone laughed. Then Patricia gave a speech. "Finally," she said, "a daughter-in-law with class, with family, with everything we hoped for. Jessica, welcome to our family properly." Then Harrison stood up. The room went silent. Everyone wanted to hear what the billionaire had to say. Derek was practically vibrating with excitement, thinking Harrison was about to announce their business partnership. Harrison raised his glass. "I've always believed," he began, his voice carrying through the room, "that true character is shown not in how we treat those who can benefit us, but in how we treat those who can't. I believe in family values, in loyalty, in integrity." Derek was nodding eagerly. Patricia was smiling. "That's why," Harrison continued, his voice turning cold, "I'm withdrawing my investment offer, Derek." The room froze. Derek's smile faltered. What?" "I don't invest in men without character," Harrison said. "And you, Derek, have shown me exactly who you are." Confusion rippled through the crowd. Derek looked panicked. "Mr. Stone, I don't understand. We had a deal." Harrison smiled, and it wasn't kind. "Let me clarify something, Derek. I'm not just a businessman. I'm also family. Naomi's family." You could have heard a pin drop. Every eye in the room turned to me. I stood up slowly, walking to stand beside Harrison. "This is my uncle," I said clearly. "Harrison Stone is my mother's brother." Patricia's face went white. George choked on his drink. Derek looked like he'd been punched. That's impossible," he stammered. "She has no family. She's an orphan." She had no one, Harrison corrected coldly, because you and your family made sure she felt that way, but she's always had me, and now everyone here is going to learn exactly what happens when you underestimate an orphan girl. Harrison pulled out a folder. You see, Derek, while you were planning this lovely wedding, I was busy. I now own 40% of your company. I bought the shares through various entities, and you never even noticed. Your business, the one you bragged about, it's failing. You're broke. You needed my investment desperately. And tomorrow morning, I'm selling all my shares to your biggest competitor at a fraction of their value. Your company will be destroyed by the end of the week. Derek lunged forward, but security stepped in. You can't do this, he screamed. That's my company, my life. You took everything from Naomi, Harrison said calmly. Now you have nothing. But we weren't done. Harrison pulled out another document, a medical report. There's something else you should know, Derek. This is from your doctor, the one you saw 3 years ago for fertility testing. You're infertile. You can't have children. The room exploded in whispers. Derek's face went from white to red. That's a lie! It's not, Harrison said. Which means that baby Jessica is carrying. It's not yours. All eyes turned to Jessica. Her face crumbled. Tears started streaming down her cheeks. I can explain, she whispered. Patricia screamed. Actually screamed. You brought this filth into our family? Derek turned to Jessica, betrayal written all over his face. Whose baby is it? Jessica was sobbing now. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, it's Brad's. Brad, Derek's business partner, the man he'd trusted like a brother. Derek made a sound like a wounded animal. He turned to me, his face twisted with rage. You did this. You destroyed everything. No, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I didn't make you cheat. I didn't make you cruel. I didn't make Jessica betray you. You chose this, Derek, all of it. Patricia fainted, literally collapsed on the floor. George was trying to hold Derek back as he raged. Jessica ran out of the ballroom crying. Guests were pulling out their phones, recording everything. The perfect wedding had become a complete disaster. Harrison put his arm around me. Oh, and one more thing, he said, addressing the room. Naomi isn't just my niece. She's my only heir. My entire fortune, $3 billion, will be hers one day. She's also launching her own restaurant empire, which I'm funding. 10 locations opening next month. She's not the broken girl you thought you'd destroyed. She's a force you should never have underestimated. We walked out together, leaving chaos behind us. Patricia was being helped up by George, still screaming. Derek was standing alone in the middle of his destroyed reception. Jessica was gone. Everything they'd built, everything they'd celebrated was in ruins. In the car, I finally let myself breathe. We did it, I whispered. No, Harrison said, smiling at me. You did it. You survived. You stayed strong. I just helped you show them who you really are. That was a year ago. Today, I own 50 restaurant locations across the country. My business is thriving. I employ over 1,000 people, and I make it a point to hire those who've been overlooked, those without families, those who need a second chance. Because I know what it's like to be counted out. Derek's company went bankrupt within 2 weeks. Last I heard, he's managing a small retail store, barely making ends meet. Jessica's scandal made headlines. The baby was indeed Brad's. Brad lost his family over it, and Jessica is now a single mother, cut off from everyone. Patricia and George lost their mansion. They had to downsize significantly when Derek couldn't support them anymore. The family that was so proud of their status, their class, their connections, they have none of it now. I don't celebrate their downfall. I don't think about them much at all anymore. Because here's what I learned. Revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. It's about taking the pain they caused and transforming it into power. They thought they could discard me, humiliate me, break me. But they forgot that the people who survive the worst storms are the ones who learn to dance in the rain. I started a charity for foster children last month. I fund scholarships, provide resources, create opportunities, because no child should ever feel as alone as I did. No one should ever feel like they don't matter. Uncle Harrison and I work together now, not just in business, but in life. He's the family I thought I'd lost, and he's teaching me that being an orphan doesn't mean being alone. It means being strong enough to build your own family from the people who choose to love you. Sometimes late at night, I think about that wedding, about standing in that ballroom, surrounded by people who hated me, knowing what was about to happen. The fear, the anticipation, the sweet, sweet satisfaction of watching their perfect day crumble. But mostly, I think about the girl I was before all of this, the girl who thought she needed Derek's family to be complete, the girl who believed she was nothing without them. That girl is gone. In her place is a woman who knows her worth, a woman who built an empire from nothing, a woman who learned that the worst thing that ever happened to her was also the best thing, because it forced her to discover who she really was. Derek didn't break me, he freed me, and that's the greatest revenge of all. And that's how the orphan girl they underestimated became a billionaire heiress. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible revenge stories. Comment karma if you believe what goes around comes around. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their comeback will be greater than their setback. Remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. They might just be planning your downfall. See you in the next story.